Welcome to Not Just a Transaction, the podcast series hosted by experienced real estate authorities Nick Prefontaine and Zachary Beach. Each week, the hosts bring you expert guests to help you navigate the many creative options available for buying or selling a home, while cutting out the costly hurdles of a conventional real estate deal. Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Not Just a Transaction, the home buyers and sellers podcast. Today, I'd like to welcome to the show Justin Stoddart. He's the host of the Think Bigger Real Estate Show, also the author of the international bestseller, The Upstream Model. And he teaches and coaches agents how to better serve their clients. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, my friend. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Awesome to have you. Now, I think the way we always like to start these off is give the listeners a little bit, have them kind of dig deeper into who you are.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. Probably my favorite part about life is I'm married to a superhero. My wife's absolutely amazing. Together we have 6 children. So super grateful for family life. To me, that's everything. And so I recognize the importance of not just having a family, but having a place that's safe for them, right? Our home is our favorite place. We like to travel occasionally, but we always come back to home. It's this past year, home has become more important than any other place, right? It always has been, but it really became kind of a real focal point for everyone's lives as it became my office and the place where we educated our children. And it really took on a whole new meaning. So for those that are out there that are buyers and sellers, obviously, I totally get the importance of owning a home. So outside of my family life, excuse me, I have a job working for a title and escrow company. So I do business development for them. In that role, and for those that don't know what a title and escrow company is, they're the third party between buyers and sellers. So depending upon what part of the country you are in, you'll either have an attorney and or an escrow officer help you through the closing process. And so I work for a company that does that and sells the title insurance to be sure that when you purchase the home, you don't also inherit someone's baggage, right? They're like liens and unpaid bills and all that stuff. So I work for a title company that does that. And then on the side, I have a podcast, as you mentioned, the Think Bigger Real Estate Show, in which I seek out the biggest thinkers in the real estate industry to learn best practices from them. And from that and other experiences, I developed a concept called the Upstream Model, which is helps real estate agents get to their clients in a better fashion than just through kind of the traditional means. And it helps them to serve them at a higher level. So all that said, maybe a hobby. I'm also a kind of a fitness, I don't know, guru, definitely not a guru, but I just enjoy fitness, being healthy. So
You're an enthusiast.
There we go. I like that. I hadn't heard that term before. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So I think it's important for buyers out there to know that they won't, at least initially, they're not going to be dealing with attorneys other than signing their initial rent-to-own agreement, which we have at all of our deals done. We have them sign starting with an attorney signing where they put the initial down payment down, they sign all the agreements, and we like to term it as a purchase, lease purchase agreement. The only difference is they don't have their end loan. However, I think where someone like you comes into play and like a title company, like you were talking about, is a little bit further along in the process. So once they are starting to get their ducks in a row, the last 10 to 12 months of their agreement, they'll be starting to deal with coordinating with and communicating with an attorney and or a title company, which is going to coordinate their closing and help them get to the finish line. Yep, is that accurate?
Right. Yeah, that's right. And, okay. And I would say, I don't know about the last year, even, I mean, if they're purchasing a home, it's the last few weeks, months, right? This when the title company or the attorney that's helping you through the closing process really comes into play.
Yeah, and I said that, and I knew you would have a comment on that, but the latter 10 to 12 months of the rental and buyer's agreement,
Okay.
just because they think the reason I said that, I want to qualify that. The reason I said that is because buyers, rental and buyers, there are some that think, oh no, I don't have to worry about that till like the last month or two before the end of my
Yeah.
agreement. But there are so many documents, Justin, and I'm sure you can appreciate this. There are so many documents and forms and proof of their payments being made and in and out of their account and everything like that.
Mhm.
There's so much documentation that the lender needs that
Yeah.
we'd like to get the process, get the ball rolling uh, within 10 to 12 months from the end of their agreement, because it oftentimes, especially in these post-COVID times, it takes a lot of time to track down those certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
that's a great point.
the so that's great. I think you answered a little bit, but go a little bit deeper into who you are, because we want to be able to promote you a little bit, and you want to talk about your book,
Yeah.
where listeners can find that, and we'll make sure to drop that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, you bet. If you're interested in uh, kind of finding a great agent, I mean, obviously you're working with this audience is really buyers and sellers, but my book, The Upstream Model, is really applicable to not just real estate agents. It's also very applicable to anybody in business. So I've actually set it up to where you can get a free copy, like a free ebook download of the entire book. If you go to justinstoddart.com/free book, you'll get the entire ebook for free. If you want a paperback copy and an option to buy the audio as well, you just go to justinstoddart.com/book. So those are kind of two options to get your hands on the content that really allows you to separate yourself from the competition in business in general, and be working with fewer of the right people that will help you to make more money in less time. So that's that. And then if you're interested in really learning more about me from my podcast, it's the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. That's hence the TB. Sometimes people are like, is that Tom Brady? Well, it's like, no, it's Think Bigger. So that's the purpose behind that. And my mission and passion
Big
is,
fan. You a big fan?
you know, I wasn't so much when he was with the Patriots, no offense. But like his second act is just super inspiring. So yeah, I've become a fan. I like the
Well,
guy.
that's immediately where my head went when I was like, oh wow, TB, because that's not your initials. So I
Yeah.
was thinking,
Yeah. Yeah, must be a Brady fan. I am
yeah.
now, but that's not the purpose of the sign. It's to think bigger. But Tom Brady is definitely a big thinker, right? He's done some incredible things. So anyway, for all the Jets fans that are hating me right now, if you are, by the way, Zach Wilson, right, of the New York, if we're talking football, New York Jets, Zach Wilson, we share an alma mater. So I think he's going to get the Jets back on track. So I know that Jets fans don't like Patriots. So any talk of Tom Brady, I might have just been blacklisted by some people, but hopefully
That's
my endorsement of their new quarterback, number 2 draft pick, gives me a little more cred with those that have wanted to turn off our show today.
well, hey, that's okay. That little off track, that's fine. Talk about a little bit about your podcast
Yeah.
and what it is you do there, because I think listeners, that's definitely a subscribe for them.
Yeah.
And they can probably get a lot of value out of taking a peek at it.
You bet. Appreciate you asking. So my podcast, again, it's called the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I had heard over and over and over that you become the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And for many of us, I live in a small town, kind of smaller market outside of Portland, Oregon, and I don't always have access to the really big thinkers that I want to be like. And so I decided that I was going to start a podcast in order to add benefit to my clients, being able to feature them on my show. And then I started to realize, like, this is amazing. I can be in conversation with people like with Grant Cardone, for example, who's been a guest on the show, and some other really big names that have allowed me to kind of 10x, if you will, my thinking and my possibilities and what's possible for me in my life. So the show really is designed to help people expand their possibilities wherever you're at in life. There's some tactical for the real estate industry, But for really anybody that wants to just simply have a bigger life, not just have success, but have significance, a significant life, that's what the purpose of the show is all about.
Well, that's great for anyone.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think, as I said, Justin, that it's the home buyer, the target here is the buyers, home buyers and sellers. But look, I'm sure, because we're both pretty entertaining guys, I'm sure we're getting some real estate agents listening to this.
Yeah.
So your message does not fall on deaf ears.
Great. Well, I welcome them. So
Good. Awesome. Wrapping up now, I know we'd like to respect everyone's time here. Why? And I think you've hinted at this, why, but you haven't truly answered it. Why is it not just a transaction to you? And why do you give a shit?
Yeah, great question. So again, I see some of my favorite quotes center around the home, right? Which is, I might draw a blank on them here, so give me a sec. But the greatest work we will ever do will be within the 4 walls of our own home, right? That's one. And there's no success that can compensate for failure in the home. That's the second. So those quotes are kind of guiding principles for me, that no matter how big I think outside of the home, no matter how ambitious I am, if I forget the work between the walls of my own home, I don't know that I can call myself a success personally, right? Others might. I'm not judging other people, right, that have had big successes in careers and kind of a failed home. But for me, that's my focus. For me, the family is more than just kind of a temporary thing. It's a forever thing. And so if that's the way I feel about family, then the place where we reside and where we have most of our memories, most of our experiences is super important. And getting people into their safe place, their most important place on earth, it's not just a transaction, right? This is about helping people to find their safe place where they can do their most important work, which is in the walls of their own home. So that's why.
Awesome. That was definitely some profound stuff. I'd like to, and I started hinting at this a little bit with our listeners on previous episodes, but I haven't really dove in deep to this. But in 2003, I was actually in a snowboarding accident where I went off a jump, caught the edge of my snowboard before I went off, and subsequently landed on my head. I was later told that I landed on my head and I wasn't wearing a helmet. And I was in a coma for 3 weeks. It was partially induced, so I don't remember a month of that. And then less than 3 months later, I ran out of Franciscan Children's Hospital in Boston. Going through an experience like that, and then by the time I got out of I ran out of the hospital less than 3 months later, it wasn't done. Like, okay, all set, you can wash your hands of it. I still had a lot of work to do with outpatient therapy, tutoring, everything like that. But my reason for bringing this up is that going through an experience like that, Justin, it just highlights family and why family is so important. And it brought us closer together. Not that we were drifting apart before or we weren't important to each other before, but as you can imagine, with being a father of, I think you said 6.
Yeah.
It definitely brought everyone closer together, and still to this day, we remain close because of that. Closer, I would say, because of that. And I don't know if that didn't happen and I didn't go through that experience, I don't know if I'd be here today talking to you. I don't know if I'd be doing what I'm doing today. And I love where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to echo what you said about family being important, and you having, it's just as, if not more important, to be successful in your private and family life than it is to be successful professionally.
Yeah.
That's really important to me, and one of the things that I value.
I think there's endless gurus that teach success. For me, what I want to be known for is the guy who taught significance.
Well said. Well, with that's a perfect bookend to this.
Yeah.
I would say thank you, Justin, for coming on the show, Not Just a Transaction. Thank you again. A lot of good information in there, a lot of nuggets that the listeners can take away.
Mhm.
And if there was one thing that you'd like to leave them with, what do you think it is?
Go think bigger.
Awesome. Well said. Well, thanks, listeners, and tune in next week where we bring some more value to you on the Not Just a Transaction Home Buyers and Sellers podcast. Once again, Justin, thank you and have a great day.
Pleasure.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Not Just a Transaction. If you want to learn more on selling a home, buying a home, or resources to learn more, head on over to our website at originalre.com.